started. I hope you enjoyed my little smooth jazz Christmas melodies. I don't know how many of you are into Christmas songs, but around here, around these parts, I definitely like to get it in. I feel like Christmas is the only time that we're allowed to listen to Christmas music and we're allowed to watch Christmas movies. So I try to get it in while I can because we only have about 30 days. Some of us do start a little earlier than others. I'm not going to call y'all out. Anyways, thanks for joining my Word of the Day Wednesdays. My name is Nicole D. Miller, author of Stories for the Urban Soul, a compilation of short stories, novellas, and poetry depicting Black characters dealing with everyday life issues from social injustice to parenting to heartbreak to college life, a gamut of topics that are relatable specifically in African American culture, infused with spirituality and faith. So you can learn more about Stories for the Urban Soul at NicoleDMiller.com. So you guys know every Wednesday for over a year now, crazy, I do a Word of the Day Wednesdays where I piggyback off of my latest blog. My latest blog post is, drumroll please, that's my makeshift drum roll, is Home for the Holidays. And Home for the Holidays, I talk about how this year for Christmas, hey LJ, I'm actually staying home. And every year I normally take a trip. Me and one of my best friends, we do that. We've been doing it for the last several years since my mom passed in 2018. So we take a trip for Christmas and we usually alternate between cold, hot, cold, hot. But this year we're kicking it in Cleveland. So I talk about that, but I also talk about how I visited another type of home this past week, which is Toledo, Ohio. So some of you probably don't know this because I don't really like rep Toledo like maybe I should. But I was actually born in Toledo and I have family there. I was raised in Cleveland. Cleveland is pretty much all I know. Like I do get lost sometimes in Cleveland, but I can pretty much get around east, west, that sort of thing. But Toledo, I couldn't tell you what's going on there. Like, I don't know the streets. And the weird thing is, when me and a friend were there this week, we noticed how all the streets are the same as in Cleveland. It's like, I don't know if that's an Ohio thing or what. So, long story short, I went to do a speaking engagement. I got to speak at Ella P. Stewart's all girls school. So my uncle, who's a part of the Buffalo Soldiers, which is a bikers club, they do a lot of community service, and I got to hook up with him. So that was nice. So I got to speak to these girls. There were sixth graders, and I talk about all of this in the blog. And the cool thing about it is, like, I had nothing prepared. Like, I went in blind, and I just felt like I just need to lean on Holy Spirit and just let him speak through me and just be sensitive to what is needed in the room. And thankfully, it worked. So I talk about that in the blog. It was so encouraging for me because I think when we're going, and we're grinding and we have this vision and we have this idea of where we want to be, we forget to look back. We forget to look back to where we've come from, right? So this was totally a time of looking back for me because I not only went back to Toledo, but I went back to my old preschool. I was at a preschool there and it was called Save Our Children. I had no idea that the preschool was actually inside of a Baptist church. So my aunt took me and my friend there, and it was the first time I'd been there in 30 plus years, okay? Probably over 35 years. And going there, it was like, wow, this just paying homage to the foundation. Like, that is where my foundation of academia and faith got started. And then learning more about that there was a community in Toledo that saw fit to create a safe haven for children in the urban cities to grow, because I learned stuff really, really early there. I learned how to tie my shoes. I remember them pulling my teeth with the little, like, wrapping the string around the door and tying it around your tooth and yanking it. I don't know if y'all remember that old school way of getting your tooth pulled when it wouldn't come out. That's what they did. I remember. Must have traumatized me for me to remember all this time. But the biggest thing I remember is, like, learning my timetables really early. I always loved math, and so having that prestigious, academia experience prepared me for when I went to public school, and it just gave me such a great foundation for even when I moved to Cleveland. I remember they wanted to skip me grades, but it was because they had taught me stuff so early at this preschool. So I got to go there, and it was just very edifying and a time to reflect. So I think that's one of the cool things about this time of year is that we do kind of, well, we don't always, but it is a time of year to kind of slow down, pause, and see how far we've come. What do we accomplish this year? What have we not accomplished? What do we need to work on? What are our opportunities for growth? Is a nice way to put it. And what are we looking forward to? So for me, Home for the Holidays, which is the blog that I'm talking about, was kind of a caveat of these things, a culmination of these things, where I look back and I see what home is. Toledo, Ohio is the place where I was born. That's where everything got started. I'm staying here in Cleveland. Cleveland's definitely home. And so, yeah, I definitely encourage you guys to check it out. It was very, again, encouraging for me to talk to those girls because I didn't think of what it looks like, what it could look like from their perspective. Here I am, this grown woman, probably looks kind of glamorous. I come in with a cameraman, because we're doing some footage and we're working on a project, which will be released later on. Stay tuned. And I basically come in there like a boss, but I'm not looking at it that way. But it was just awesome because I was able to pour into them all the things that I've been learning and am learning about writing and authorship and entrepreneurship, and to encourage them that they could be doing this stuff now, because I know that there are young people out there who are starting their businesses at their age. So very inspiring for me. So the other really dope thing that happened while Toledo, because that was like a really long day jam packed with a lot of stuff, is I got to be featured on iHeartRadio. And I'm probably gonna butcher his last name, but the host name is Fred LaFouver. Okay, I know I'm butchering it. So, but it was amazing because I definitely didn't expect it to be that big of a platform. My uncle again hooked it up, and he's like, "Oh, do you want to do this interview?" I'm like, "Oh, sure, I'll do it." And then he's like, before I get on the interview, he's like, "Yeah, about 200,000 listeners are on this podcast." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And you guys, when you're in these interviews, you don't know what they're going to ask you. Everything is off the cuff. So you just have to be ready with your answers. But it went really well. I was just so encouraged and blessed by the open doors, especially because during the interview, I got to promote, another drum roll, please, my latest book and first novel, When Love Wins. So you guys will notice that the cover has this little strip across it. That's because this is the author-proof copy that Amazon provides. So I can't resell it, but it is another step in the right direction. And I have two cameras here, so I'm going to switch my angles. But it is a step in the right direction of me getting to the publishing stage. And so it's been such a blessing to see my book baby alive and well and almost born. And to get a preview, I literally was snuggled up with this thing last night next to my Christmas tree, drinking a glass of wine and just enjoying seeing it in print. It is such a journey when you're a creative entrepreneur. Being an entrepreneur by itself is like, it's not for the weak, okay? It's not for the weak. I know that just in starting my bookkeeping business, but being a creative entrepreneur, for me, in my opinion, I want to be careful because I'm not trying to minimize somebody else's stuff, but I just think the level of patience, vision, and work ethic is just heightened for me personally, because you're putting so much of your creativity into a project. And so you have the work that's going into the project, and then you have the business side where you're building the business. And so when you're an author, it is such, and I'm going to write a blog post about this, it is such a long-term project, because I don't know too many novelists that just can pop out books within a year. Like, some of them do, and I know that they have formulas for that they're following, regimens, but most take time, right? And so especially if it's your first one, like this is my first one, I started working on When Love Wins, I think the end of December 2020, or no, September 2020, like it was the fall. And so it's been over 2 years. And the thing I have to laugh at with myself is I literally thought I was done last year. I shipped it off to one of my editors, Gwen Valerius. I shipped it off to her like, here you go. Thank God I had enough sense to hire her to do a manuscript critique. Okay, and if you're on Instagram, I think her name is Gwen the Coach. So you can look under my followers and you'll see her. She's amazing. Definitely needed. Worth the investment. Okay, that's what I'll say. I knew nothing about writing a novel. All I knew was, I'm a great writer and I'm a storyteller. And so I got this story that I'm working on. Thankfully, she was able to ship me into shape. And I took her critique and feedback and went ham. But it was a very grueling, tedious process because I have two characters in my book and there's two points of views. And one of the things I did was I had both characters in one chapter. So I would have a theme for the chapter and then you would see both characters experiencing that theme. But that didn't work out so well with the development of one of the characters. She was underdeveloped, and Gwen was able to call that out. And so one of the things she said was, you might want to switch your chapter, like separate the characters into each chapter so we can learn more about both characters. That was very challenging for me and very tedious and time consuming, but I did it. But I'll be honest, I laid down my book for like a month, maybe even 3. I can't even remember. It was a minute to where I just couldn't even look at it because I was so discouraged because I was like, I thought I was done. And honestly, I was just getting started. But what I had to learn with writing a novel is that editing is key. The bulk of what you're doing is editing. Like, you can have the story and you know where you want it to go and all of that, but the editing and fine tuning is what just takes it to that next level. And the fun thing is, this summer I took a workshop with Lit Cleveland. Justin Todd taught the workshop, and it was fiction writing. Even in the midst of me, like, being in the editing stage of When Love Wins, taking that workshop enhanced my writing to another level. So I would say my writing was like, I was a good 8 out of 10. Like, I was a strong writer. Taking that workshop, I was like a 12 by the time that thing ended. And it was only a 6-week course. And the awesome thing is, I met amazing people in that group who became the beta readers for When Love Wins. One of them now is an editor for Indie Miller Publishing, and just the list goes on and on. So long story short, I learned so much with writing this novel. Now talking about it, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to do like some type of blog post or video, YouTube, something about that, because it has been a definitely learning experience. But my point is, as a creative entrepreneur, you are going to be investing so much of yourself. You're investing your creativity, your time, and then your finances and your resources. And I just feel like it's double the grind because you have to create whatever it is that you're putting into your art, whether it's painting or comedy or writing, whatever your art is. And then you're building around that to create sustainability for livelihood. So I talked about those things with the girls. Let's bring this all back. I talked about those things with the girls, and they were so receptive. They were so engaging. They asked thought out questions. And what touched me the most is at the end, one of the teachers had us do a picture. So we did a picture, and she said, "Put up the heart for When Love Wins." So you see us in the picture, and we're doing the heart with our hands. Oh, just touched my heart. So God just blessed me so much, and it's definitely not been an easy season. I know we have a tendency to only talk about the highlights and social media and all those things. I try to use my blog to kind of share more about behind the scenes things that are going on. So what I'll say is, like, the Father met me in an amazing way this past week. So check out my latest blog post, NicoleDMiller.com. If you would like to catch the pre-sale, because the pre-sale is available for When Love Wins, go to whenlovewins.love. I literally just posted about the Ashley and Natalie quiz, which are the two characters in When Love Wins, and you can take the quiz and find out who you're similar to, and then I want you to DM me your response so I can judge, like, okay, is this accurate? Because I know you, I'm not sure. So long story short, whenlovewins.love. And if you'd like to take the quiz, go on my Instagram, and I'll have to drop this link on my Facebook and Linktree, or my Facebook and LinkedIn, because it is on my Linktree, but the website for the quiz is on both of my, I don't know if it's on both of my Instagram accounts, but it's definitely on @HCOHB. And you can try @NDM Publishing, just in case. So thanks, guys, for tuning in to Word of the Day Wednesdays. I'm Nicole D. Miller, and I will catch you next week.